Hello guys, we lost Pope Francis to double pneumonia. We are about to elect a new Pope. This is what I want to say before I begin this story. Let us not consider that we are going to have a Jesus in a Pope or a God in a Pope. The person who is going to be elected is first and foremost a human being, infallible, a person who can make errors or mistakes. Once we know that, we will accept whoever the cardinals elect, and whether they have bad leadership or good leadership, we won't be swayed astray just because of bad leadership. We will remain focused onto the prize, the kingdom of God. Otherwise, let us pray that the cardinal choose someone who will actually take the Catholic and the world to the next positive level. Now, let me now highlight some 7 popes who made history in a bad light, just to tell you that popes are not angels. Pope Alexander VI, called in his birth name Rodrigo Borgia, who reigned from 1492 to 1503, is one of the most notorious figures in papal history. His papacy was marked by rampant corruption, nepotism, and more scandal, earning him a lasting reputation as the most morally compromised pope. Here are his most infamous deeds: nepotism and family advancement. Alexander VI blatantly used papacy to enrich and empower his family, the Borgias. He appointed his son. He had a son, remember that? He appointed his son Cesare Borgia as a cardinal at age 18, and later making him a powerful military leader. His daughter Lucrezia Borgia was used in political marriages to forge alliances. Rumors have it that there was incest surrounding their relationship. He elevated relatives to powerful church and secular positions, turning the Vatican into a family power base. 2. Fathering children while Pope. We've heard of the daughter and the son. Let's hear this. Despite being a cardinal and later a pope, Alexander had several mistresses and at least 7 children, mostly with Venosa dei Catanei. He openly acknowledged and promoted these children, a major scandal at the time. 3. Political scheming and violence. He allied with or betrayed various Italian powers like France, Naples, and Milan to gain political advantage. He supported his son Cesare Borgia's bloody campaign. I repeat that, bloody campaign to carve out a dynastic state in central Italy. He manipulated alliances through bribery, assassinations, and warfare to expand Borgia's control. 4. Sale of church offices. Alexander VI notoriously sold cardinalships and other church offices to the highest bidder, undermining spiritual integrity. This contributed to growing resentment that would later fuel the Protestant Reformation. 5. Lavish lifestyle and scandalous Vatican culture. The papal court under Alexander was known for decadence, parties, and sexual excesses. Stories of orgies at the Vatican, like the alleged banquet of chestnuts, have persisted, though some are likely exaggerated. And finally, 6. Mysterious death and rumors. He died in 1503, possibly from malaria, or, as some believe, poisoning. And this is poison that was intended for someone else, but he accidentally ingested it. Alexander the Sixth. Let's look at a second pope, Pope Leo X. His actual name, Giovanni de' Medici. He reigned from 1513 to 1521 and is infamous not for sexual scandals like Alexander VI, but for his lavish spending, political excesses, and role in sparking the Protestant Reformation. Here are his most controversial and damaging deeds. 1. Lavish spending and financial mismanagement. Leo VI lived extravagantly, famously saying, "Since God has given us the papacy, let us enjoy it." Like, really? He spent vast sums on feasts, hunts, and art, including financing the completion of St. Peter's Basilica, draining the papal treasury. To raise funds, he aggressively promoted the sale of indulgences, which became a lightning rod for criticism. 2. That particular sale of indulgences. Leo authorized widespread selling of indulgences, paying in exchange for reduced time in purgatory. The most notorious example was the indulgence campaign led by Johann Tetzel in Germany to fund the rebuilding of St. Peter's. This practice directly provoked Martin Luther to write his 95 Theses in 1517, igniting the Protestant Reformation. So the split from Catholic actually occurred during Leo X. Number 3, downplaying Reformation. Leo underestimated the seriousness of Luther's protest, initially dismissing him as a drunken German monk. His response came too late and too forcefully. In 1520, he issued the Bull Exsurge Domine, threatening Luther with excommunication, powers that the popes used to have then. This only deepened the rift, and when Luther publicly banned the bull, Leo excommunicated him, effectively sealing the break with Rome. Nepotism and Medici favoritism. As a member of the powerful Medici family, Leo advanced their influence throughout the church and Italy. He appointed relatives to key roles and made several cardinals from the Medici clan, reinforcing accusations of corruption. 5. Political scheming and war. Leo X frequently involved the papacy in Italian wars and alliances, seeing the Pope as a secular prince as much as a spiritual leader. He formed and broke alliances to secure Medici power in Florence and the Papal States, often at great human cost and financial cost. 2 popes, and that is crazy. Pope number 3, Pope Stephen VI, also known as Pope Stephen VII. He reigned between 896 to 897, just in about 1 year. Let's see what he did in 1 year that made him so infamous. He is one of the most grotesque and bizarre pope in the church history. His brief papacy is remembered almost entirely for this scandal called Caldeva Synod, or Synodas Horrenda, which shocked both his contemporaries and later generations. Let me break down Caldeva Synod. That is, putting a dead pope on trial. Okay, let's hear this. Pope Stephen VI, or the 7th, if you like, exhumed the corpse of his predecessor, Pope Formosus, who had been dead for about 9 months. The corpse was dressed in papal robes, propped up on a throne, and put on trial in a synod convened by Stephen. A deacon was assigned to speak for the corpse, answering charges of perjury, violating canon law, and illegitimately becoming pope. This is what we call beef with the dead. Oh my goodness. Imagine exhuming somebody to take them to court just because you didn't like them. How bad can it get? And who is doing this? The incumbent pope. Number 2, Pope Stephen VI, or the 7th, on verdict and punishment of the corpse. What did he do after this stuff? His papal acts were annulled, his blessing hand was cut off, and his body was stripped of papal garments and thrown into the Tiber River. This desecration horrified the public and the clergy. Okay, what did he do? This particular pope who had died, he exhumed, took to court, opened a trial against him, and then found him guilty. And then how do you punish him? Cut the hand off, strip the body naked, and throw the garments into a Tiber River. It was just terrible. Okay, what was the motive? The trial was largely politically motivated. Stephen VI supported the Spoleto faction, while Formosus had favored a different political alliance, the Carolingians. By invalidating Formosus' acts, Stephen hoped to undo appointments and gains made by his enemies. So he was doing all this so that whatever this guy had done when he was a pope earlier can be brought back and cancelled or called off. Then whatever he intends implemented. That never took course. The grotesque nature of the Caldeva Synod led to outrage in Rome. Stephen was soon imprisoned and strangled to death, likely by his enemies and angry mobs reacting to his actions. Okay, wait a minute there. This is a pope. We have talked about a pope who took poison intended for someone else. He is now a pope who is now strangled, dying like Muammar Gaddafi. Terrible. Let's look at the next pope. Pope number 4. Pope Urban the 6th. And there's a problem with these 6. So many people with the 6 tag are facing it rough. He reigned between 1378 and 1389 and is infamous not for immorality and decadence like some of the others we have just heard from, but for his violent temper, hasira, anger. He was harsh and he triggered the Western Schism, a decades-long crisis that split the Catholic Church with multiple competing popes. Let's get into it. Urban VI was elected pope in a tense and politically charged conclave in Rome after mobs demanded an Italian pope. Mobs. So this papacy thing, this conclave thing, sometimes it gets heated, like we just see here. Though initially accepted, his increasingly erratic behavior alarmed many cardinals. Just months after his election, a group of cardinals declared it invalid, claiming they were pressured by Roman mobs. They elected a rival pope called Clement VII, who returned to a place called Avignon. So we have 2 popes at the same time. One supported by the cardinals, the other rejected by these cardinals and saying they were forced to elect him. This began the Western Schism with 2 and later 3 competing popes and rival lines of succession, which lasted not 1, not 2, but 40 years. Pope Urban VI was also known for his extreme rage, paranoia, and harsh treatment of clergy and cardinals. He publicly insulted and humiliated bishops and cardinals, even during Mass. Brothers and sisters, when you see our political leaders hurling abuses, remember popes also did this and can do this. So it is normal, it is human, it can happen. He often physically beat members of the clergy, beat, B-E-A-T, and is said to have carried a club, a C-L-U-B, for that purpose. This was a gangster. Trust me, this was a gangster, not a pope. In 1385, Pope Urban VI suspected a group of cardinals of plotting against him. He had 5 cardinals arrested, tortured, and eventually executed. Pope Urban VI alienated allies through arrogance and harsh rule. Even those who supported his legitimacy grew frustrated. His inability to reconcile with rival factions or work diplomatically deepened the schism and weakened the church. His later years were marked by growing mental instability. Some historians suspect he may have suffered from psychological illness. Yes, he must have, not just may, but must have suffered from psychological illness. Because who does that? Pope number 5. Pope Pius the 12th. Pope Pius the 12th. Or do you want to say Pope Pius? Okay. Reigned between 1939 and 1958. He is one of the most controversial modern popes because 19, these are times just like 100 or so years ago. Actually, less than 100 years ago. Less than 100 years ago. Yeah, so there are people currently living who encountered Pope Pius the 12th reign. He is controversial not because of his personal scandals, just like the others we've heard of, but because of what he didn't do. Sometimes it becomes wrong to do, and it also becomes wrong not to do. When something wrong is happening and you are quiet, that's a mistake. And when you are the person doing the wrong thing, that's another mistake. Pope Pius or Pius the 12th has been heavily criticized for not publicly condemning Nazi Germany and Adolf Hitler by name, even as millions of Jews were being exterminated. His reign actually, he began his papacy when Adolf Hitler was actually the leader of the Germany. He was the chancellor and was executing Jews like nobody's business. Very sad. If you've watched some of those movies, like Escape from Sobibor and The Boy in Striped Pajamas. While he did make general statements about human rights and suffering, many expected a clearer moral stance. Critics argue that his silence was a moral failure that allowed atrocities to go unchallenged. As head of the global Catholic Church, he had considerable moral and diplomatic influence, yet he did not excommunicate Hitler or Nazi leaders, nor did he threaten German Catholics who supported the regime. Some believe stronger actions could have saved more lives or at least made a symbolic stand. Pope Pius the 12th declared the Vatican neutral during World War II, arguing it was necessary to protect the church and allow discreet humanitarian efforts. But that's not what you do. When people are fighting, you don't bury your head in the sand and assume nothing is happening, because those who are dying are Catholics. Those who are dying are actually people you preach to, people who you engage to directly. They are involved. So critics say that this neutrality amounted to moral cowardice in the face of evil. Should never happen. And this is where I like Anthony Moheria, Archbishop, what's his name, for speaking out about these political vices. Because when you don't speak, it will happen. The leaders may perceive it as a green light. It is right, it's okay. Before becoming Pope, as Cardinal, he helped negotiate between the Vatican and Hitler regime. This agreement granted certain protections to the church in Germany, but legitimized the Nazi government, weakening Catholic opposition. So he did make negotiations, but the negotiations he made were only personal, I would say, but did not involve the larger picture. After World War II, the Vatican under Pius XII was involved in controversial decisions about Jewish children who had been baptized and sheltered by Catholics. In some cases, he opposed returning them to surviving Jewish relatives, believing their Christian identity should be preserved, sparking outrage from Jewish communities. So he was controversial mostly for things he did not do. So this actually means that when you have that power, use that power to make the world a better place. If you don't, you'll be blamed for it, and rightly so. Next Pope, Pope number 6, our second last Pope, Pope Benedict the Ninth. He reigned in 3 separate times between 1032 and 1048. 3 separate times. Does that mean he became Pope, lost papacy, came back like presidents do? That would be crazy to begin with. But let's delve in. He is one of the most scandalous and morally corrupt popes in church history. His papacy is infamous for sexual depravity, bribery, and selling the papacy itself. What does that mean? He was made pope around age 20. Are you 20 years? Imagine you could be a pope. But the way he was made pope was not legitimate. There must be something. Let's see. He was made pope around 20 or possibly younger, thanks to his powerful and wealthy family, the Tusculani, who bribed their way into getting him elected. He had no clerical experience or spiritual qualifications. Now that speaks volumes about a human being. You see, the cardinals are supposed to elect someone who they deem morally fit, but here they took bribes and elected someone. They fell culprits. They colluded, so that also taints them. Benedict the Ninth was accused by contemporaries, including reformers like St. Peter Damian, of rapes, murders, and other unspeakable acts. His papal palace was reportedly a den of vice and corruption. He allegedly held orgies in the Lateran Palace and was described as a demon from hell in the disguise of a priest by one chronicler. In 1045, Benedict sold the papacy to his godfather. Pope Gregory VI, for a large sum of money, possibly to fund his marriage plans. This is one of the few known cases in history where the papacy was literally sold. Benedict the Ninth was pope between 1032 and 1044 and was driven out of Rome due to public disgust and rebellion. He became pope again a year later, briefly, and then abdicated and sold the office, like we just heard. Then he became a pope one more time 2 years later with military help, but was finally excommunicated and expelled. His chaotic returns and exits plunged the Catholic into confusion and, you guessed it, disgrace. Pope John the 12th. That's our last pope, Pope John the 12th. What did he do? First, he reigned in 955 to 964 and is remembered as one of the most infamous and corrupt popes in history. His papacy was marked by sexual immorality, violent behavior, and a complete disregard for the spiritual role of the papacy. John the 12th was infamous for extreme sexual immorality. He is said to have had numerous affairs with married women, nuns, and even his own relatives. His illicit sexual behavior was so rampant that he was accused of disgracing his papacy itself. Some accounts suggest that his love affairs took place right in the papal palace. One chronicler described his papacy as being marked by constant debauchery and impurity. John 12 was heavily involved in simony, the practice of buying and selling church positions and favors. It's called simony. He sold bishoprics and abbeys to the highest bidder, undermining the spiritual integrity of the church. His actions deeply undermined the moral authority of the papacy and was seen as part of the wider problem of corruption within the church. John the 12th was also accused of engaging in pagan rituals. He allegedly invoked pagan gods during ceremonies, and some sources suggest he set up altars to idols in the Vatican, a direct affront to the Christian teachings. His reputation as a pagan pope tarnished the image of the church and made him a symbol of the moral decay of the period. He treated the papacy as a political tool to further his own interest and rather than a sacred position. He often used the church to maintain and increase his power, disregarding the spiritual responsibilities of that particular role. His papacy was characterized by nepotism and favoritism towards those who could help him politically. So, in a nutshell, we have seen 7 popes, and there could be more. And these are popes, the topmost. Then below them we have cardinals. Remember, we have more cardinals than the popes. Then we have more priests or bishops, and so on and so forth. Imagine the madness that exists with some of these leaders, and that is the church. Now, I've not brought this to try to tell you how bad the Catholic Church is, because I am one staunch Catholic myself, and what I've just read does not take me out of Catholic Church, not one bit, not one iota. The thing is, I learn that to be a pope, to be a cardinal, to be a bishop, to be a priest, to be a lay reader, or to be a member of the church, first, we are human. We sin. That sin should not be taken as the church has sinned. No, it is the individual has sinned. Let us separate individuals from entities, but let us always work towards guarding the entities and the individual's purity. Given the bad nature of those particular 7 popes, it's a challenge to me and you to make yourself the pope you so much deserve. And you don't have to go to Rome, or you don't have to be elected at the conclave. You can be the pope in your own home. God bless you.